was just waiting for the clap. I was like, he said something about a clap. Don't say anything until he claps. So I'm starting this the wrong way round actually that I intended because the vultures, the culture vultures, they're on in a bit. They haven't come back yet, and there's something I need to read to them to so they know. So we're going to wait. So I discovered in the last set, I'm Rufus. I'm Rufus Mufasa. I'm originally from Ammanfords, not too far from here. Whoop whoop woo. I live in Pontypridd now. I never thought I'd woo. Never thought I'd settle in Wales, and I stayed in Pontypridd. It's a very special place for me. But what did you say it was called, Justin? A punch poem? A smack poem? A smack. I think I got a smack poem, so I'm gonna share it. So this was kind of inspired by I think the last couple of years because of personal circumstances. I've kind of always been quite a direct person, but I've had to become the master of subtext just for legal reasons and just to kind of try and keep a low profile. Anyway, so this is called Postmodern Postmortem or Shots Fired. And I wrote this in response to, I was in Ruth Writers Workshop. If any of you are writers, I would suggest that Ruth Writers does. You've come up from Ruth Writers, you've done a lot of stuff. They're great. I feel they hold really safe space for writers and they've got a really good community. So just so you all know that. So yeah, it was kind of about artists in the city getting like really pissed off about artists from outside the city coming in and stealing their shows. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And then kind of going, you shouldn't be taking part in this culture. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is getting insane. So this is my smack poem. Here we go. It's called Postmodern Postmortem or Shots Fired. The NW had well and truly split the city. The crews there sent threats, looped their loadedness in an attempt attack justified by the fact that stages, venues, clubs were theirs. The majority of the NW were ignorantly oblivious of the nuclear national treasures belonging to those people that keyboard warriored and the post-industrial poverty that pillaged and plagued, viewed others engaging with certain art forms theft. But there was nothing NW about them, just OS heads vexed about funding being distributed elsewhere, other than the compass of culture that they were willing to go to war for. I was a soldier for over a decade, made progress for us them, we Wales. But the city crews reevaluated my pedigree when I got too vocal, too shiny, and the vicious fissures that lacerated my love made it difficult to keep up momentum, especially as my injuries were not visible enough and my smile was too convincing for anyone to connect with the actuality of my agony. And like snot snakes, they ate me from the inside out, went about the culture with a die-hard manifesto that had never ever heard of Raymond Williams, let alone considered that the capital of this country could belong to us all. Thanks. Snot snakes. Honestly, Google snot snakes, like it's a thing. And I remember going, snot snakes, I'm going to have to try and use that for a poem. So I'm going to try and find you, oh my God, what is it even called? So I'll do this one on my phone, then I'll put my phone away because I'm not really the best person with the phone. So what was it called? I think I stored it under hedgehog. It's not about hedgehogs, it's actually about fish. And now I can't spell hedgehog. Okay, oh God, this is really bad. Hang on, bear with me. Hedgehog. Got it. Okay. So when I was in school, I had this, she wasn't actually like a teacher. She was like she just helped everyone. I don't know what they're called. I think they're called like support teacher. What are they even? I don't know. Yeah. She was one, but she did everything. Like from translating the school scripts and stuff. And her name was Einar Jones. And everyone used to be like, my eldest daughter started doing it now and took her to yoga the other day. And she was like, oh my God, this is so cringe. This is so cringe. And I was like, it's yoga. You might fucking need this skill set in a minute. And she's like, no, it's so cringe. So everyone thought Mrs. Jones was like proper cringe, but I thought she was amazing. So on Monday mornings, I had no idea this woman would. I'd be standing here in Kidwelly today talking about this woman when I was in assembly. When she come in Monday morning assembly, and she would be literally like giving us like life philosophy through stories about her cats. And I swear to God, she must have had about 72, right? Like, yeah. So it was like life lessons through her stories about cats, and she threw in a bit of Jesus. But I loved it, and I must have needed it in my life. But nobody else was digging this woman. Anyway, turns out I am this woman. Now, standing in front of you, talking about fish. So you're going to have a little trail down my timeline of trauma with fish. That's my metaphor, okay? Right. This starts called Prelude to Isolation. Friday, February, Uplands, Swansea, suspended in an entire ton of salt, every external situation shut out. I am forced to face myself, forced into present, forced to sit with absolutely everything that I am struggling to process. I am with my body, hear my heartbeat for the very first time in my entire life, and it is throwing me a lifeline. I claw at my belly button like I'm looking for a shell in the sands, picking at the scabs of my umbilical cord. Every bit of information my mother pre-coded, preloaded, pre-afflicted on my belly that I'm not on good terms with, the very belly that housed my most precious gifts, their umbilical cords that passed every bit of data down that I had to date. And I want to scream, get them back in. I can do better now. I have better software, revised texts. I think of Jesus walking over seas of salt. I think of Lucy, my favourite film, how poisons opened up her brain. I think of the other Lucy. There's always a Lucy, the dolls, the teddies. There's even a dinosaur, Lucy and Daisies. Our house is full of Lucys and Daisies. But Lucy, I think of Lucy, the fish that just died, the second to go. The first was Daisy, but my girl, she couldn't handle it. Said it wasn't true. Replaced Daisy's death with Fernie. That was far more bearable for her and me, because Fernie, my best friend, not the fish, hasn't called since all this. So, and I worked hard on those fish. I even cleaned their tanks Christmas Day after a 20-hour shift. There were 4, now just Derek, and the name swap Daisy remain. I buried Daisy good and proper with an altar, a shrine. We sang Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, and we held hands crying in the rain. I read Indonesian grief stories at bedtime. You see, I am trying to get grief right. But Lucy's death was different. It was a Thursday. I was exhausted. I said, Lucy must be too. And when everyone went to bed, I dashed her in a bag of stale bread in time for the bins the next day. I tell the truth about a week later, about her death, not the bin. None of us crime this time. We just get on with the dishes. I'd like the last 2 to stay alive a while. Truth is, I wouldn't have survived winter without them and DIY. And floating in salt I cry, for my belly button, for my birth story, for theirs, for wrong information, for my father, for theirs. And my heartbeat echoes throughout this tomb, their first drum beat, their first song, and their hearts were like steam trains from the old movies, and wild horses on track and free. And I call on the spirits of all the Lucys to make them 10 of me. Micro, macro, 2. There were 4, then there were 3, now 2. One is struggling. Amazon Prime antibiotics, several types. Use cotton buds on scabby eyes. Change the water, but no joy, no justice. And every encounter gets worse. And this is happening inside and out. Got to get it out. Can't cope or eat or make a next move. Google says, whatever you do, don't flush. Leon says, clove oil is humane, but there is none and there's no car. Other option is stab it in the head. But there has been too much violence. Avoidance will drown. Deal with things before sunrise. Call Little Rich. Heaven's getting married in the morning. Little Rich will think that you are talking in code, assuming danger, but insist you need his attendance. You can't follow through solo. His chick gets suspicious. He says, fuck this shit. He hangs up. Call Irish Paula. She says flush, get it done, get it gone. You'll do it together. God bless loudspeaker. Position jug over bowl. Paula says a prayer. And just like that, we are free. 3. In loving memory of Percy. When I was 9, I lied to my teacher that I had to go to the dentist, so to leave early to pick up a kitten smuggled in my school bag on the bus with a plan to hide it in my nana's house, but got busted pretty quickly and I broke down begging until Nana agreed that Maddie the tabby could stay. Maddie the tabby grew into a tiger, gobbled up Percy, my fair fish from when I was 2. On that day, I knew my sister loved me the way she kicked that cat into a cartoon. Thanks. Yeah. Got one fish left now. And I do not know how it's alive, like, seriously. So the wingers haven't come back, but Amy Winger's here, so I'm gonna do. So this is actually a book, actually a book, called Pen and Paper Punk's Imprint, and it is by our beautiful Dominic Williams. Yes, make some noise for this. This is very important. And a couple of weeks ago, I was at Landed Festival. They've given me a stage to organise there. And I'm great on paper, but I've got nothing. I don't know anything. I don't know anything about anything technical. Anyway, Dominic was there before me, which I was very, very relieved of. And we were setting up the stage, and he's like, "You do realise, babes, you have no sound." I was like, "I don't give a fuck about the sound, Dominic. We have got 12 minutes to get all this bunding up. I can't let anybody see this stage in this state. Like, this has to be a priority." And I just thought, no, actually reading this book, I understand that he understands a lot more than I understand, and I was very glad that he was there helping me set up the fucking tent, like, because it wouldn't have been that pretty. Or it would have been really pretty, but without sound. So, but this is amazing, and I'm going to read some of this if that's okay. And I would call on us all to do that, actually, as performers, as a spoken word community. That I would really love to see us kind of shape-shift in the culture, where we're actually coming up and sharing what we're reading. Like, if I find really fascinating, or like really rig them, really rate them, I'm like, what are you reading then, bro? I would really love us to be sharing our takes on other people's works, if that's okay. So in the 80s, the DIY punk movement was rebelling against the mass music industry. In the 21st century, small hip-hop labels are filling the gap left by that decimated industry. The social, political, and ethical values of the commitment to grassroots, peer-supportive community is absolutely punk. And I feel so excited because I genuinely think that lots of us, that's what we're doing. And it is actually such a rebellious and political thing to do, to keep on sharing our voices and our stories and our art forms with or without their funding. So I said that, not Dominic. At the end of October 2019, the organisation of which I am a director, Right for Word, and that is also beautiful Mel Perry by there, delivered an international arts festival over 6 days across Carmarthenshire and Ceredigion in southwest Wales. On the festival programme was a young hip-hop group, the Culture Vultures. The Culture Vultures are in a fucking book, like. This is amazing. They said, like, honestly, I can't believe they're not here screaming about it. One of the members is the son of Matt Davis, and they had talked together not long after my visit to see Matt much earlier that year. The matter of their conversation was the musical and visual influences of the punk culture that Matt and I had discussed. Almost immediately, Culture Vultures had adapted their event posters and flyers to reflect the punk collage style that they instantly found attractive and empathised with, perhaps. And then it made me think of my Don't Do Dio album cover that I literally made from scrap, and I just felt so fucking punk. It was unreal. Okay, so I don't know if there's one more thing I'd marked in here. That and the thing you were saying about you being that person on the plane making that crazy, that's me. Yeah, I would have been doing exactly the same thing. So Okay, as a result of the impact of the pandemic, the April residency was postponed to October. The July literary residency was cancelled, and the July Fringe Festival was postponed to October. And so the Fringe Festival coincided with our second residency. The team at Cultivira, which is the organisation that we support and they support us in Sweden, the team at Cultivator is a very small one, and the delivery of the festival program online was an ambitious endeavour with no previous technical experience, with more than 70 events combining pre-recorded events, internationally interactive events, and live streamed events, utilising YouTube's Premiere function, YouTube configuration to interact live with the Zoom platform, and YouTube live streaming channels, which is kind of what's kind of going on today. YouTube, it was a great success, but a massive draw on the logistical and administrative resources that Cultivira may have ordinarily been able to direct towards an arts residency. The result was that this was a very different residency to the first, and one that was hugely productive and satisfying. But I think the reasons I'm trying to explain to you is that we have been working so hard as artists. Artists have been so frontline over the last 2.5 years. I would really, really, really like to make some noise for some very important artists in this room. Can we all start clapping now? Yes, yes. So I know Justin worked his back off to work out what theatre looked like in this new terrain. And literally Dominic Williams has taken Wales to the world and is bringing the world to Wales. Travolta's in a book, like. Okay, so I'm going to read from my book. I haven't really planned anything. I'm going to be really brave, actually. I'm going to read 2 and 5 Forest Halls. So this book starts when I'm 5 years old, and then it goes through my life story in poetry and prose or whatever anyone wants to categorize my work under. And then it actually ends when my eldest daughter turns 5 years old, and I realize I've actually just kind of completed an abuse cycle. And then what I'm actually explaining in this book of work is transgenerational trauma. But it's really fucking funny as well. Okay, so because trauma is great, right? 2 and 5 Forest Hall. So we're kind of halfway in the middle of the book. 2 and 5 Forest Hall is my hall of residence where I moved to Treforest near Pontypridd. 1. Michael was a Nigerian prince. I did and didn't believe this, but he had 10 rows of Tims and just as many Marlboro light cartons and just as much fresh ocean blue denim. Michael denied loving Mary J. Blige, but always danced with me anyway, laughed all the way through No More Drama, but knew every word. Michael loved my hair, despite it being a timeline of trauma, and he'd needed singing Mufasa while I chain smoked, sending prayers to the heavens. His hands so gently present, preparing my scalp for the tightness, for the order. Michael had beautiful lips that I never kissed, but there were many times he held me, like he knew so much more than I could ever say. I was running when I met Michael, no aces or Me Too then. I was fighting for my life when I met Michael, and he upgraded my pen. He called me Queen, he called me Mufasa. There wasn't a person on my block that didn't know my name. Michael, if you're reading this, you are the best king. 2. Ramla looked straight out of ancient Egypt. We wore matching dungarees. We danced to peaches and cream on repeat like gangster gods. We'd make up our own diction for words. Balcony became balacony. And when her brother visited, he said that her English sounded like my Welsh. Ramla could roll her hips like a goddess. She had lips that you should and shouldn't fuck with, and a spare prayer mat, and she'd say, come, Allah is waiting to hold space. Ramla's arms were everything, and the bird song would signal that we'd arrived another night, we'd survived another night, and she'd say, they are carrying everything you've ever lost home. 3. I was always all up in C's business. His reluctance made my game long. But he'd slide by, hood up, eyes wide, tone deep, Mufasa. I'd be 10% giggle, 20% block up, the rest maintaining gangster. I was always all up in C's business. Always all up in C's business. Often he'd just internal chest laugh. Sometimes he'd be defeated and smile. Then came the imitation, and I learned that I say the word like all the time, and I had a lilt that he learned to like. I was always all up in C's business. Tea time, 3 a.m., had my own knock, and he'd unlock, sometimes with, sometimes without eye contact, and I'd help myself to his toiletries. Hell, he eventually let me wear his FUBU, his hoods, which was ridiculous, because he was big and wore even bigger, and I was tiny wearing huge. I was always all up in C's business, but he eventually started telling me stories about his daddy, how he looked just like him, stories about Nigeria and London, how both were home. I was always all up in C's business. He didn't have much choice teaching me to MC. On nights when my demons were dancing darkness, he'd sing me Jill Scott lullabies until I found sleep. 4. Irish Paula had complex issues. That's why I loved her. She could read your religion and would remember exactly fuck all like me. Irish Paula was the friend, the hooked out condoms, located lost tampons, and would never tell tales. We both carried the cross, drank Southern Comfort and lemonade. She blistered every finger, sealing my braids and fluffing up hash, the road tripping, the real landscapes. Mainly industrial, the sexy stench of steel passing for Talbot. Operation 9 Bar from the west, intentions of profit, but we hotbox the block. We watch episodes of Shameless on repeat, stop believing in Johnny, we now pray for a Steve. Irish Paula adds blisters to those blisters. We've got complex issues. That's why we're sisters. 5. Julia from Newcastle, we call her Queen, will become my very best friend ever, forever, the first girl I meet who's got daddy issues just like me. I make it my business to fuck up all the bad boys that fuck with her, and she breaks the spell, meets a Welsh king. But I'll make many mistakes over and over. I will learn that daddy issues is just a gaslit blanket that gives predators permission to treat you bad. But even those kind of contracts have an expiry, and she'll be there waiting for me at the homecoming when the war is over. Thanks. So I'm going to, I hadn't thought about music for this. I am going to sing or something. I'm going to see, actually, it might be better with this, actually. Okay, we're going to try it. This is more of a test. This is for you guys, obviously, but it is a bit of a test to make sure I'll just change the song if I get it wrong. See what happens. Okay. Your wonder of astrology really did it for me. Your higher self got my bathroom all so steamy, and you said it all so sexy. And your diction hexed me. I believed you when you said you could easily get laid down. I know how to hold you, let me straighten that crown. I let the rom-com play out in my mind. Ramp it right up with my third eye, and every manifestation had you by my side, ride or die. I lost my mind and I lost my pride, and he got me and I've got you, and I so believe the hype, but it's a Cinderella story. When it turned midnight and my next man say, come to the studio, the island, and me really wanna go. My best friend say, a brother like me loco, when I'm crying for my king that no show. I wouldn't suit you better if I was the girl that necesito que me canto. Your I save it for the gifts that I couldn't bring aside. I could never really be your ride or die. You see me, I've been shot too many times, and you can ride or die. Your first chapters full of lies, not my guy. My body is a temple, my soul's an instrument. Like Colin Gwent, I'm very grateful for divine light, cause you got to right, and the ancients rigged your game, but I still chose to play. But the etiquette is both in checkmate, decimate this Freudian fake. Could no longer kick it in this relay. Keep your inner Amy at bay. Let the trigger warnings translate. And my neck man say, come to the studio to let me really wanna go, 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 go. My best friend say, ha, ha, a brother like me loco, and I'm crying for my king and no show. My Freudian ways will task and fury. All I feel my attachment theory. You should read my psyche, what that ship I be and wifey. Thanks for reminding me how to use my time more wisely. So my infatuation fades and this the transient taste has a bitter sweet taste. I played around with the future we'd make. A trigger warnings replaced with him saying, girl, you the rain, girl, you the rainer, 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 girl, you the rain, girl, you the rainer, girl, you the rain, girl, you the rain. A snibble by the summit. Next time I ain't fin you now without nothing. I could have been your Alabama snibble by the summit. Next time I ain't fin you now without ever. I could have been your Alabama summit. Yeah, dag with the honor. Gwên hargissa. Niet dan nasit. Radigin timbran hines. Niet dan nasit. Radigin timbran hines. Niet dan nasit. Radigin timbran hines. Thanks. So I think that's it. So I was like, that's a bit off key then. I was like going like, oh, I think I put like 3 songs in one. So thanks for bearing with me. And I am now going to pass the stage over to Joe if he's ready. If I don't know if Joe needs 2 minutes to grab whatever he's gonna grab. And Joe is amazing. He is from our he in our world. He's like the GOAT. Like proper. He is of Squid Ninja fame. He has been doing some. If you haven't heard the album Barrydocalypse, I really suggest that you check it out. It's the most important body of work, I believe. Yes, I said that. Tell a professor. Go on, run and tell him. I think it's the most exciting exploration of post-industrial Wales that we have been gifted in language and literature. I said that. I did say that. Yes, I did say that. So I think he's on his way up. Yes. And just in case, do you need to grab anything? Do you want me to like very, very clever stall you for a minute? What can I tell them? Oh God. He's yeah, make some nice with John.
Thank you. Sorry for the delay, just trying to get a drink, but bar staff are underwhelmed. Just like to say a big thank you to Rufus for putting me on. And a couple of years ago, I released an album. It's basically a dystopian view of how we are right now as a species and where we are in society. And the further I get away from the release date of this album, it seems more poignant by the day. So I'd just like to, it's basically a rendition of the album compressed into one poem. So, but first, before I do that, top of the morning to ya. Being said, it ain't the same as when I left it. The good old days in retrospective. And crazy ain't the term that I'm referring to. The word that I prefer to use to state the way the world turned is mad. Thinking a cloth can stop the virus, then twist a swab that's probably laced with something inches deep into my sinus. Silence. My inner screams are like tinnitus. A Pfizer for the kids who might die of myocarditis. Entities, mentally we're bordering a crisis. We'll send the men to fight them, probably make it up with ISIS. Everything we touch has turned to rust. There ain't no Midas. I'm cashless, no crypto, Bitcoin, priceless. I'm feeling super with manuka in my body. I'm sipping cherry flavor hoopers in the lobby. Ain't no one sticking stupid little boosters in my body. Clot shots, murder was the case. Snoop doggy doggy. I read a thread that someone posted up on Reddit that said, to mess with global tech, then try imposing social credit. Edit. Forget they ever said it. The end is close enough with this pretending pandemic. Just let it be a little lesson for the next gen. They ain't gonna listen, so you'll probably have to text them. I bet 10 quid on the kids. It's a frivolous quest, a thin line between obedience and civil unrest, but less comparative. All the more imperative now. A spoonful of sugar helps the narrative go down. Clowns. Drown it out and swim your own lane. Heavy is the head that wears a crown around your own brain. So flames, I came alone to light a Yankee candle. No names quoted though. I pray tonight the wankers dangle. It's anti-vandal. It won't wash like smoke stains. They paid you to promote the scandal, goldy looking rope chain. Yeah, I heard your promo. That shit was whack. And knowing that the winter cold will be sold as COVID's back to slap you in the face. Let's take it back to basics. Delete the app, middle finger music, track and trace this. A maskless face is a basket case nowadays. The unvaxxed won't get to pass. So the power says, chatting shit will leave your mouth with a sour taste. Been counting down the minutes thinking it's the final hours, mate. Because now or later, we need a massive gang to fight the process. Wait, they passed the bans the right to protest. Gas prices hiking, I can see no stopping this. And I spy the future looking bleak in my binoculars. They got the people queuing round the block to be inoculated. Profit off the loss and say the rock is overpopulated. Isolate, stop copulating. Life is like a real-time apocalyptic sitcom in the making. It ain't too late until you're dead. The clock is still ticking. Still awaiting on the red pill to kick in, to wake up. Blurry like the filter on your makeup. It's an off-kilter, topsy-turvy world. I'm shocked it's still spinning. Thank you. Yeah, so this next part was taken from Barry Docalypse, who was released a while ago. This is it compressed into one little thing. It goes, wide awake, I try and paint myself a picturesque image of my vivid still life and watch it dry. But sometimes when coloring by numbers, I run out of black and blue, and so I sing myself a lullaby. Because it's a long night when there's no drugs to stun me, and I'm comfortably numb in my dumb mind, and the fun died suddenly in this place with no sunshine. Well, sometimes, but mostly thunder by lunchtimes, and we're drunk or high by 9 a.m. Or struggle in the night, the blight of confined mayhem. And looking back in the day, it was all good. Why don't we just all get along like we all should, instead of being awkward? I ain't seen a job on the docks for weeks now. Spotted a few dodgy off-duty cops, though. Some say this town's gone to the dogs, glued to a screen, counting sheep, hounding a win on the lotto. Let's point west and mock the weak whilst ignoring the war on the corner of your street. We ain't supposed to contemplate our own demise, but they don't get the bigger picture with their eyes shut. 'Cause we're all broke like the morning. I'm torn between screaming and yawning, the pawn on a chessboard, performing a move to wipe out the rest of the set without warning. I terraform beats when I speak on them. And I believe in the law of attraction. I see war as a form of the weak being bullied, but we're still hearing talk and no action. Extracting the natural gases and fracking the land and taxing the masses grand after grand. Yo, hand over your dough. Can't go for a row when your boat's made of ashes, oh. No, I'm seeing dead people. I'm seeing people behead people. I'm seeing sheep being fed by the head of the dead people, then led to their death with a needle, like Resident Evil. Next sequel. Let's shed feathers and take off. Bound to make number one in a bake-off. I cook my cake and scoff it, put some flavor on it. Then I nourish on it and look to flourish from it. I pick the currants from it, trying not to vomit. So high you'll have to get the flying doctor on it. Cybersonic, octane, hydroponic haze crop. I rhyme in some hyper-knowledge maze block. My demonic box brain will deliver shock waves. I'm belting up defenses to block pain. Let's hold hands and let go. Prepare for the next fall, but jump when they say so. I'm on some next level Plato, serenading a babe in the waves off Tobago, whilst taking no notice of voting. It don't apply to me. I ain't signing shit. I don't belong to no society. A high dose of psychedelics to enlighten me and activate my pineal, enabling my eyes to see. I let the lies blow over me and smile boldly, surviving on my bones. Still, things are rosy. Still losing the will to live slowly. Still giving the middle finger to police. Still coping with pollution and other shit weather-wise. Now I'm going back to bed. The revolution is televised. But wake me if they crash this spaceship. After blazing one, take me back to basics on a plane with a flame throwing Bowie hunter knife, chasing game, trying to stave off a hunger strike like something ain't right where they left it. Our golden utopia eroding like a cesspit. Because if the tensed and the vex live for the next spliff to vent it and spending the rent on electric, life's hectic. The building's decaying. We're so far away from a place the kids could even think to play in. Where the beauty of life is Call of Duty at night. Being told to aim high and to shoot for the sky. Why? On some new computer cooped up, losing on a shoot 'em up, boot 'em up, super juke nuke 'em up. Who can give the bigger fuck though? Triggering a rock when I stick my middle finger up. Now, what you want to do when you grow up? And you have to face responsibilities. Well, don't grow up, it's a trap. There's no hope for the future and there's no going back. The kids have been bumping this for ages. You're still busy on Facebook, updating your status, debating, making arrangements to go raving or complaining about the way the kids are misbehaving. Ooh, catch 22, snap, like elastic. Instagram that with your face made of plastic. Dumb to the buzzing of your hive mind. Don't succumb to everything you find online. Gone blind whilst glancing at the answers. I'm taking a stance that plants can cure cancer. We chuck away more than enough to feed Uganda, whilst drug wars spill more blood than gangs in Atlanta now. We all know that the bankers are wankers and there's more than a choice of just tango or Fanta, tobacco or ganja, heating or eating, and it's killing me. When are we going to take responsibilities? We're all still fishing for change in the wishing well. Escape from the change, still under the wizard spell. And rap's got that lizard smell. Tell me a story where they're plotting about them and the whole shit don't ring a bell. Singing a hymn, filling a slim as I'm billing a Ziggy, flicking through vids on whether Diddy pulled trigger on Biggie. I'm spinning in circles like the fate of a carousel. The tables are turning on earth where the power dwells. Well, allow it. 9 out of 10 of them doubt it. And the field of dreams is always looking for people to plow it. Strapped to a tractor, a rap one, and head for the south, shouting rah with a bad taste in my mouth, bumping something. With nothing but dust in my herb tin. Juggling words, I will trade silver for sterling. The tables are turning. I'm favouring straight over gurning to take over the world with the sacred tales of Merlin. Because it could be a lack of drugs or something. From way back when Dad's hugs stopped coming. It could be a lack of love or the fact that he keeps running back to the drugs for double or nothing. Or it could be another fucking attack of anxiety. The shock of a Monday dragging me back to society. It could be attachment to the things that I lust for when I'm never satisfied and it's always just one more. Will I ever be like him? Why? Who's asking the man in the mirror? You act like that you're all not that godlike. Then who's watching the thoughts of the thinker? Who? Who's thinking the thoughts of the watcher? Who stares at your image then depicting a monster just settles for the next best thing? Wrestling the things that are best in. Do you really want to be like him? Why? Riley's life says, yours is more inclined to die like, are you really happy? Ask yourself this though. Too afraid to throw shapes at the disco. I look at me from another man's perspective and I try to live the moment in my ego disconnected. And I accept that I'm aware as I prepare to change and grow, but rarely happy with the messed up way I'm feeling though. So uneven. And troubles with breathing. And suddenly the drugs have become unappealing to me. How easy for me to pretend to be someone else when the hardest thing is just trying to be myself. It's like fear, and all design gear is trying to lure me. I flee the scene because all my peers are leaving, trying to steer me. In theory, I could fly away to pastures greener, when I just really want to stay and watch the final of the series. Sometimes I dream of being me, and no one seems to hear. I've seen it all before. I know the score from watching TV. I'm more the poor and needy than the greedy, high and mighty. I'm just happy being me for now, without the life of Riley. Thank you. I wish I could do all the chit-chat in between all these because it would make it a lot more interesting, but I'm just straight to the point and it's just going to come out in like shit, so I won't bother. I'm from a place with no sunshine, but I still see the light in the weight of their punchlines. They bend the truth like space-time. Don't consume the fruit you pick from the grapevine, the same as your neighbor, warped by the telly. Orwellian wars are being fought on the daily. Maybe the rabies. Maybe the aspartame flavors mutate in the brains of the babies. Maybe it's the fumes from the factories, the 5-a-day oranges, apples, and blackberries. Maybe it's the fat in the Mackie D's, or maybe it's to do with the smack that the army yield. That's consuming the youth and then practically blaming it back on the lack of a family. Poor Machiavellian law, till they're begging for more with more fluoride and Evian than ever before. You can lead a horse to water and drown it. Overfeed the sheep with a mouthful of cow shit. The deeper you dig, the plot thickens, though. So don't talk to pigs like a chicken, yo. Walk like Egyptian. I talk an organic diction, because all laws apply to your fiction. I defy science. Inspired by life when I died from a pipe of Almighty and connected the system and realigned with Orion. The last Anunnaki that came down from space just to fuck the Mayans. It's a lion as the country dies. Don't consent for us to control your mind. Wise words slurred, dirty third eye, blurred vision. Too fluoridated to refute a new religion. Mood swings of wisdom. Who rules the kingdom? Just a few dudes eluding you to loot the system. I'll circulate the moon on a solar mission, but still greet the neighbors with no ambition. Just go about your own thinking something's missing. They told you in the music and no one listened. Future mutants, hybrids of evolution, wrote the blueprints of life for the humans. They hid the truth to survive in the ruins, then moved to the moon till we die from pollution. Inside your hides a refutably highly elusive clue to the super gene. Since Genesis, the next nemesis. I'm on a quest trying to figure whether heaven is chemical. I try and recode the matrix. I retrain my brain and aim to drive spaceships when they're all being programmed to say shit and made to obey and kept slaves to your pay slips. I take it like a bitch in a backhand, blatant, and rub it in your face like a lap dance. Take control of your own fate or it's game over. Or witness the rise of the sleeping soldiers, alpha mode, glued to the box like fusion, duped because it's all an illusion. I boost the news with subliminal elements. How long will it take to carry out these experiments? Jesus. I'm melting up here. It was supposed to be a picture. The ways of man were written in the scriptures. They planned to rule the world with the failure of a victor. For right and left, for life and death, the right and left were fighting eye for eye. The look of engineered fear, the signal. It was time to die. Sign your life away. Protect your mind from microwaves. I summoned tidal waves to take me to the final days, but I'm still amazed I survived the onslaught of the nation. I was trying to find the exit from inside the maze where each generation wreaks devastation, then preaches to each one to teach revelations. They started to ravage the planet for mammals, savages scavenging for any last living animal. Man turned cannibal, then poisoned the food and the water. The humans consumed down to flora and fauna. And the sea absorbed back to the cracks in the floor, then collapsed the whole system till man was no more. It was supposed to be a picture. It was meant to be a dream. It was supposed to end in harmony, rather than a large display of armory and the camouflage and the khaki camaraderie and the banks, the yanks, the tanks we got for not complying. The yanks of what's to come before the pride we got for dying. The fight was fought and life was short. The calm before the cyber war was fought to wipe out all our thoughts was raged. I prepared for the dark days. I'm grabbing my family and ducking the harp rays. But wait, there's something in the sky. Is it a bird? No, it can't be the birds because they've all died off. Maybe it's a plane with its lights off, or maybe it's a guy flying down to Earth to fight off, or maybe it's neither. Maybe geo engine is nearer. Maybe the war on the street is really being fought in the ether. Maybe the laws of cause and effect have effectively built a wall around us all, forcing us all to adhere, trapping us here. There's no gap in the atmosphere or hole in the ozone. The solar controllers are here. I smile back through a gas mask full of fear and look to the sky and wipe that slag from your tears. Because it was meant to be a picture. It was supposed to be a dream. Thank you. Thank you. How long do I have left? Okay. I've got a couple of random poems if you want to hear them. It swings around abouts and people push me. We could be living a life of luxury, cushy. Nothing sacred and something should be. Don't cry over spilt milk. Lap it up, pussy. It's like the game of trying not to crack the cookie. All the same, the way the majors never backed the rookie. With yourself to blame to make the change and you choose to tutty. It's like when you lose on footy, then abuse the bookie. Lucky, what happens when you turn your back to the class bully and do life to the max fully? By actually detaching the self from its own vessel and wrestle a need to answer the questions to ask, could he? But deep down you really know the dealio, but rather not believe in what you're feeling out of fear though. Because half of you would rather be a part of something wrong to belong than sing your own song and be seen as a weirdo. You fucking weirdos. It swings around about, it's just a ride. Ain't no looking back and every action justified. You'd be forgiven for thinking that I had sussed it. The thing is, I still live in the shadows of when I fucked it. The pathway was narrow and too close to touch it. Enough shit for 6 men to shovel and I mucked it. Because everything will happen for a reason. They planned it. Believe when you're struggling to breathe in the sand pit. Although it took me years to realize and understand the fear lies within, and then we're being served an underhand. I take it as a win on any color that my number lands. When hunger pangs for love are overpowering 100 grand, you've cracked it. We're built to connect like synaptics with something so real you can feel it. Haptic. To be continued. I haven't finished that one. Is this deja vu? Have I said this rhyme before? My long-term memory is kind of short. My short-term memory is bombarded with a tidal wave, a tirade of amazing, warped, idle thoughts. And I thought the time was eternal. But the time seems to fly when I rhyme in my journal. Is life but a circle on a playback loop with that same old weird game of name that group? Should we take turns in playing who can seize the day? My go, I know, but honestly, I CBA. Either way, I'll be there when I'm here to stay, and some will choose to lose in any which way the geezer may. He's okay, though we don't got the fees to pay. He'll be back again like Jesus on Easter Day. And you don't need to be a priest to pray formally, would normally perform, then retreat to keep the beast at bay. Nowadays, most of the people gay. Ain't no hating, but keep away, s'il vous plaît. Nah, nowadays, most of the people broke, doing vids on Instagram. Damn, most of the kids smoke. Quick, post a picture, or the social ghost will get you, and you kick yourself for the rest of the whole semester. Did you get the picture? Memories can go stale and floating into nowhere like a rowboat with no sail and post-mail. My flows are like the Holy Grail. Just let it be like that bloke with the ponytail. To be continued again. Fuck. I haven't finished that one either, so happy days. This is rather depressing. If you thought it couldn't get any more depressing, then beware. Up to my neck again. Best to tread the water like a terrapin. Seraphim caress me. Selfies are developing. I'm on another mission as the world is turning backwards, wishing on a genie in a box of burning matches, outdated. Copper-plated Medal of Honor. I got a lot of old rope burns under my collar. I got a load of old verses still stuck in my throat. I never swallow or follow them through. I chew them till I choke. I was trying to make a boat sail made out of rotten wood, only good for burning with the bridges that were once stood. I'm already in the air. There's no need to ask for clearance. I'm way beyond repair. The mask is based on my appearance. My blood is still solidified. My heart is on defrost. A tummy full of butterflies, a pocket full of moths, like thalidomide. I find it hard to reach out sometimes. I shrivel up like leeches in the sunshine. And my attempt at speech becomes a dumb mime. I shoot the teacher like I'm bowling for Columbine. I'm sullen as I muster up a cluster of some fucks together, enough to fill this rusty little vessel with a lust to live. It's just a wish. We're just fish. A million fish, but I'm the only one that got to fly. I trained my wings to brave the stings of every octopi, called the doctor. My system needs to optimize. You've got to factor in that I'm still soaring in a block of ice and soaring into orbit like a tourist from across the sky, calling out to anyone, gnawing on my pocket knife. I make a picture greater than your paint could ever do, and sticking bits of summer back together with all weather glue. I'm indecisive. I'm still trying to pick which pill to chew. I can't decide, so I'll suffice to mix the red and blue, the best at smoking out of anyone I ever knew. The devil had me dragging round the severed head I'm tethered to. I meant to write you, but the weeks have just flown by. Been trying to keep me on the straight and narrow as the crow flies. Convinced and praying to the gods to click the stopwatch and hold time, and convince myself eventually I stumble on a gold mine. Crumbling, I'm morphing into amoeba mode with no spine. At the moment, I'm just blowing in the wind just like a clothesline. Sometimes I need to pinch myself and things are going just fine, when after all, the answer's been within me the whole time. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Cheers, Joe. It's not over. We're going to keep the momentum going. We're not going to leave the man go yet. He's going to be back in a minute because we've gone in from Rufus into Joe, into the Culture Vultures. We're going to keep it up. We're going to keep the pace up. And Joe will be back joining the boys soon. So just hold tight there. Maybe get another drink.